Instead of this automatic noise, you entered a conversation with presence, not with clever tricks or manipulative lines, but with a few words that dissolve the mask and invite the other person to be real. Think of the peculiar magic that happens when you feel understood. Someone looks at you, listens not in haste, but with patience, and then says softly, "I understand you." Suddenly, something relaxes. You are no longer standing outside the gates, knocking, hoping to be let in. You are inside, welcomed. Most of us live surrounded by people, yet still feel alone, because no one has paused long enough to say those words. The truth is, being understood is rarer than love itself. It is the quiet acknowledgement that your inner world is valid, that you are not absurd for feeling what you feel. And what happens when you offer this to another? You become unforgettable, because you have touched something that is deeper than appearance, deeper than charm. You have reached the core. When you say, "I understand," the other feels less chaotic. Their inner storm subsides, and in that calm, they find relief. And relief is magnetic. People do not cling to those who make them anxious. They cling to those who ease their restlessness. You see, attraction is not about impressing others with your brilliance. It is about becoming the sort of presence in which others feel they can finally rest. But understanding requires a little humility. You cannot understand if you are too busy preparing your next clever reply. You cannot understand if you are determined to be the smartest in the room. To understand is to set aside the ego for a moment. To say, "Here is a fellow traveler, walking a road I may not fully know, but I can see the shape of it." And when people sense that in you, they no longer resist. They lean closer, because they no longer have to fight to exist in your presence. You have made room for them. Now imagine you are speaking with someone, and you tell them, "That makes sense." A small phrase, almost trivial, yet how powerful it is. Because what you are truly saying is, "I have listened, I have taken in your thought, your feeling, and it has found a place in me. It has landed." Most people never receive this gift. They speak, and their words disappear into the void. But when someone hears that, they make sense. Their heart eases. They feel accompanied, no longer wandering alone. And so, without realizing it, they grow attached to the one who mirrors them. This is not about empty agreement. To tell someone that makes sense does not mean you must think the same way. It means you recognize the path they took, the reason behind their words. Recognition is enough. The Stoics called this tolerance, to let another hold their view without needing to crush it. And people feel safe in the company of tolerance. They open themselves further because they sense you are not a threat. And the more they open, the more they trust. The more they trust, the more they wish to remain near. This is the quiet rhythm of connection. But notice, if you simply toss the phrase carelessly, it becomes meaningless. If you say, "That makes sense," without truly listening, it dies on your lips. Presence is what gives it weight. You must really be there, hearing not only the words, but the silence between the words. When you feel the truth of what another has said, then you say, "That makes sense to me, because I can see how you reached it." Now you are no longer two isolated beings. You are sharing a reality. Shared reality is closeness. And closeness, when unforced, is what draws hearts together. There is another phrase that glows with power. You are right. Such a simple thing, yet it satisfies a longing we all carry, even the proudest of us. To be told we are right is to feel seen. Of course, this cannot be overused, for then it becomes flattery, and flattery is counterfeit. But when it is spoken with sincerity, it disarms. Imagine a quarrel, tempers rising, each person determined to win. Then suddenly, one voice says, "You're right about that." Instantly the tension dissolves. The need to defend collapses. Because what people truly seek in argument is not victory, but validation. And to give that validation freely is strength, not weakness. Great mind loves truth, no matter where it appears. So if another has spoken truth, even in the smallest measure, to admit it shows your maturity. It shows you are not a slave to pride. And paradoxically, those who yield attract far more respect than those who must always win. For the insecure must guard every inch of ground, while the wise know when to bow. And when you bow, the other feels safe, and when they feel safe, they begin to trust, to soften, to remain. Consider how different such moments feel compared to ordinary conversation. Most of the time, words are used as weapons, as tools for domination. But when you say, "You're right," sincerely, you lay down the sword. You show that your concern is not for your ego, but for truth itself. And people find that irresistible, because it is so rare. They meet in you not a rival, but a companion, not a competitor, but an ally. And what is more attractive than one who lets you rest, who lets you be, who acknowledges your value without needing to diminish their own? There is yet another word, perhaps the simplest of all, and yet the most neglected. Listen. Strange, isn't it, that such a small act can feel rarer than gold? We live in a world where nearly everyone is speaking, but hardly anyone is listening. To listen is not simply to wait for your turn to reply. It is not to nod while secretly preparing your next line. To listen is to enter another's world without the urge to rearrange it. When you say, "I'm listening," and truly mean it, you are giving a gift that almost no one ever receives. And how magnetic that gift is, because when someone feels listened to, they feel real, they feel alive, as though their presence matters. You have given them space to unfold without interruption, without judgment. In that moment, you are not trying to control them, or correct them, or outshine them. You are simply being with them. And this, you see, is love in its purest form. Not necessarily romantic love, but the love that recognizes we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we might listen more than we speak. Yet notice how we live now, in constant noise, in endless chatter. To be the one who listens, to be the one who pauses and attends, is to stand out as water in a desert. People return to you not because you dazzled them with brilliance, but because you gave them the rare experience of being heard. And when you think of it, isn't that what we all crave? Simply to be allowed to exist, unchallenged. The secret of all these words, understand, sense, write, listen, is not that they are techniques. The moment you treat them as tricks, they lose their power. Their magic lies in sincerity. When you embody them, you are no longer performing, you are allowing. And in that allowing, others blossom. Think of a flower. You cannot pull at its petals to make it open faster. You give it water, light, soil, and patience. Then one morning, without effort, it opens. In the same way, when you offer understanding, acknowledgement, validation, and listening, people open of their own accord. You attract most when you cease trying to attract. The more you chase, the more people feel smothered. The more you perform, the more they sense the strain. But when you stop chasing, when you stop performing, and instead simply allow others to rest in your presence, they are drawn to you like moths to a flame, not because you tried to be magnetic, but because you became a space in which they felt alive. Attraction is not something you do. It is something that happens when you forget yourself and meet another. Every time you begin a conversation, you are at a fork in the road. Down one path lies the ritual. Hi, how are you? And the answer is always predictable, and the exchange dies there. Down the other path lies presence, a chance to begin not with habit, but with awareness. And in that beginning, you set the tone. If you enter with sincerity, if you open the door with one of these words, the whole encounter unfolds differently. You may find that what began as a simple greeting turns into something unforgettable, even life-changing. But let us not be too solemn. There is play in all of this. Words are not chains, they are games. And when you treat them lightly, with humor, with curiosity, they work best. To understand, to sense, to validate, to listen. These are not heavy duties. They are invitations to dance. They are ways of saying, here we are, two ripples on the same ocean, meeting for a moment before we flow apart again. And in that meeting, why not share something real, something alive? After all, the purpose of communication is not to impress, but to touch. And so, attraction is not built on what you say, but on what the other feels in your presence. Do they feel at ease? Do they feel valued? Do they feel seen? These are the real measures. And notice, you do not need cleverness for this. You do not need to be witty, nor handsome, nor powerful. You need only to be awake in the moment, to meet the other as they are, without the constant urge to manipulate. Strangely enough, when you stop trying to win people over, they come closer, because in you, they sense freedom, and that freedom is contagious. The one who listens reminds others how to breathe. The one who understands reminds others that they belong. That dull little ritual, hi, how are you? It is like knocking on a door that never opens. And yet most conversations still begin this way because we are afraid to break the script. But you need not repeat the old chant. You may, instead, try something fresh, something that startles the other into wakefulness, a phrase that breaks the mask and invites honesty. And here is such a phrase: tell me something good. So simple, and yet so surprising. It jars the mind out of autopilot. It demands thought, not routine. Imagine beginning like this. Instead of the dull back and forth, you ask, tell me something good. At once the other pauses. They must stop, reflect, and reach for something real. Perhaps they smile, recalling a small joy. Perhaps they share something meaningful. But whatever it is, the conversation has already leapt beyond the ordinary. It is no longer a script. It is alive. And in that aliveness, you stand apart. You are no longer another polite stranger lost in the blur of routine. You have awakened the other, and in awakening them, you have awakened yourself as well. You see, this is the essence of presence. To be awake in your meeting with others, rather than sleepwalking through empty phrases. Most people walk about half asleep, bound by rituals and cliches. But if you dare to be awake, if you dare to say something fresh, you bring the conversation into color. And this is what makes you unforgettable. Attraction, connection, love, all arise when two people are willing to step out of the automatic and into the real. And sometimes the doorway is as small as a single word. A simple phrase, spoken sincerely, with nothing behind it but presence. So remember these words, not as weapons, not as tools, but as invitations. When you live this way, you do not need strategies for attraction. You have become attractive by being real. And when you are real, others feel safe to be real with you. Whether you are with a friend, a lover, or a stranger, your presence becomes a gift, and those who receive it will wish to linger, for they will remember how it felt to be with you, light, easy, authentic. That, more than anything, is attraction. Attraction is not a performance, it is a recognition. And recognition, my friends, is love in its simplest form.